depth into them here. But there are some accessibility changes that are going to come to the game in future seasons that have me really excited. Because it's not just something for players who have a difficult time, like with pulling triggers and clicking buttons repeatedly. Let me tell you something. Having to pull for my sidearm like 300 times in a minute is really annoying. Having a full auto mode you can just trigger sounds fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking forward to that because you're still gonna have the same kick that you would normally.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing's changing in that regard. But I like that. Well, I like what they say here. Bungie is one of the few game studios whose leadership is visibly political and overtly inclusive, but the writers focus more on in-game reasons for this evolution. Everything is very black and white, and the sense was we're being attacked, we're defending ourselves. That's an easy thing to convey. But as conflicts go on, you start to hit these ruts of nuance where decisions need to be made about things that aren't so cut and dry. We're having conversations about how can we do this universe justice and paint it with all the colors in the palette that we've created over the last 6 or 7 years. And I like what they say here specifically at the end for what's next. The writing team is well into working on next year's batch of seasons, and while each season is locked in as it begins, feedback can impact future ones. The character Crow was showcased more in this year's later seasons because fans responded to him well in Season of the Hunt. You love to see it. Crow is like the best character in the game right now, and it's not even close. Especially after this week's dialogue at the end of the story mission, when you have to go talk to Savathun, and she finally tells Crow who he was, despite Glint begging. It's a heartbreaking scene. Crow gets reassigned. We don't know to where yet. Mm-hmm. And man, that is just... It's great storytelling. I thought for sure we were going to get that in a cutscene, and they subverted my expectations again by instead showing us the pain on his face in-game, and him running away and us going to find him in the helm. Like, he flat out tells Ikora, if you go listen to the audio message in the helm, either you reassign me or I'm done. I'm walking away from this Guardian life. I'm out of here. And she is determined not to lose him. Like, she's basically like, I'll let you do whatever you want. I'll let you do whatever you want. I'll put you wherever you want. You want to be reassigned? Sure, let's do it. And that is... I think that's a sign of maturity from a studio, that you can choose to feature a character more. You're adjusting your in-game plans to give us more. Like, I do suspect that Crow was always planned to have the role he had in Chosen, but I think he was meant to go away for quite a while after that. Mm-hmm. I don't know that he was really meant to come back in this season. I think, obviously, the last season, I think, is the one you're probably still working on when the game ships, and they're like, oh shit, we have a great opportunity here. We're bringing Mara back. Why don't we have Crow find out who he is at this time, too, instead of saving that for a major expansion? Mm-hmm. Like, I think this is great that we're doing it now. I think all of us are kind of surprised it's taken so long to get here. There's multiple chances where Savathun could have showed her hand and done this.
See, I thought this would have happened like towards the end of the story segment of the season. Like, maybe like...
I mean, we're in number 6. There's only 7 of them.
Oh, I guess you're right. Jeez.
Yeah.
This season's going by faster than I thought.
The season's definitely going by fast, and I think we're getting the story stuff out of the way now, because next week I'll finish up the initial story things, 1 through 7. There is a secret triumph that we don't know what that's about. That's almost surely related to something at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. They're surely not going to let Savathun's worm be exercised next week. Mm-hmm. That's going to be something that'll be held off until the end. There's a catch here.
There's going to be like an epilogue style thing to the end of the season.
Oh, gonna have to be.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we still have Festival of the Lost. We have Moments of Triumph. We have the Dawning. We have the 30th anniversary. We have so much stuff in between that, like, I'm looking forward to taking a break. Like, by the middle of October, I plan on being able to take a break for a while. Mm-hmm. And enjoy it. Like, I'm going to play some Festival of the Lost. We know that it's not the Haunted Forest. It's Haunted Lost Sectors. Next week, we're hopefully getting details on that in the Schwab. Man, it's such a good time, I think. And I think this Axios article really underlines, like, for lapsed players, why it's great to get back in. So I want to bounce to the Games Radar piece really fast before we do hit the couple things in the Schwab. and head over to the lower corner. And I like that they ask the question. They say here, their opening, it feels like Destiny 2 players randomly looked up from their vaults this year and went, dang, the story's gotten good, hasn't it? After struggling to meaningfully connect its expansions and seasons for years, Destiny has quietly and sometimes loudly become the best live service narrative around, a game that other live games should be studying. Destiny's always had a rich universe filled with compelling characters. We've never seen it all arranged and presented so engagingly, let alone for a whole year. Absolutely agree. After years of hearing that Destiny's brightest days are still to come, it feels like we've reached a new peak. These are the brightest days. Even so, Bungie is still looking onward and upward with plans for yet more ambitious storytelling and countless tricks for players to experience. And it's fantastic. Again, this is largely with Julia and Nico again. Really encourage you go read this over on Games Radar. Each week we sit down for at least one good chat with some combination of Mara, Petra, Ikora, Crow, and Savathun, among other characters. This provides a nice offset dose of expedition before we set out for our usually weekly reset to-do list. It gives the game an effective and memorable way of communicating the stakes of the current arc, even as the players turn their brains off to shred aliens in the seasonal activity. And the universe is the cutting room floor. This is an MMO light mixed with a looter shooter. There's a lot of great stuff here. One constraint is choosing a cast who can carry the story forward. The rich universe is sometimes a burden. There are tons of characters fighting tons of battles at any given moment. How does Bungie pick and choose who to put on stage? The answer is triage. One of the challenges we have with the stories we're trying to tell, because we've got multiple seasons in a year and we have a very small window in which to write a season, work with the other disciplines and create this cohesive thing, is there's not a lot of room to do all the things we want to do. We triage stories and characters. It would be amazing if we could have included Eris in Season of the Lost, but as we were writing the list of characters who would be invested in what's going on, we've got Crow in front of Mara, so we need Mara. We need Petra. We knew we were revealing Osiris to be Savathun, so automatically we need Ikora to be involved because Osiris was her mentor and one of the leaders of the Vanguard. We knew we needed Saint involved because Saint was Osiris's partner. It gets to a point where we can't put any more characters into a story without diluting the quality of the story we're trying to tell. Eris didn't quite make the cut, but that doesn't mean we're not interested in telling stories with Eris. It just means we're going to tell that story in a different release. I love it. The old Bungie would not have shown this restraint.
Yeah, they would have tried to pack everybody into the
They would have
story.
packed everybody in or only focused on like two characters. I mean, Season of the Dawn literally was Osiris and Saint.
Yeah.
Like, Season of Arrivals was Drifter and Eris.
Mm-hmm.
And look at where we are now. Like, Hunt was Spider and Crow. We've even grown from that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you may have your principal character who's leading it, but like, I would always say, look to Season of the Chosen. Chosen really is the point where I think everything kind of came together finally.
Mm-hmm.
You had Zavala being the main quest giver, but Saladin was involved. Amanda Holliday was involved. Crow, obviously. And then in Splicer, you had Mithrax, we had Ikora, we had Lakshmi,
we had Saint.
Saint, Saint and Mithrax together,
God, I want a cool statue of them, of Mithrax and Saint back to back.
I need them back to back while they're from their stance in that cutscene. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all the while you've got Osiris, quote unquote, interfering with everything, and it's such good storytelling. And it feels like something that we never would have gotten before with the model they were trying to do. These are the kinds of characters they would have crammed into something like even the Taken Kings narrative. Like, that's universally considered to be the best expansion, but it was really Eris and Cade. Yeah, that was about it.
Yeah, but the expansions that year weren't great though, right? Like, I feel, especially that spring season or that spring expansion on the Taken King was like. It was not great.
No, but I'm saying, like, even expansions have never gone this deep with this many characters telling this many different stories at once.
Yeah, I would almost argue the Beyond Light campaign almost is like the weakest part of this entire expansion in terms of storytelling. Almost, which is something because that story was pretty cool, Right.
I think that Sorry. I had a text I had to respond to. I kind of lost my train of thought. But I like what Axios says, that it's not just enough to play the story. Like, I think that enough people are engaged now in the story where, oh, I unlocked a lore page. I want to go read that. Oh, I've got something blinking over. Like, it's actually telling us we have something to listen to in the helm or something to watch in the helm. And, oh, you need to go to the Elixir Quarter. You need to go talk to Mara in the throne room. You need to go talk to Savathun. Crow needs your advice. Shit like that. Like, that's going to get me engaged. Like, oh, I'm going to talk to this person about this. Oh, my God, something's about to happen. And it's not just for lore hounds anymore. Like, we're not having to listen. We're not having to wait for some gorgeous-sounding British or Australian man to transcribe the story for us. I don't have to wait for Bife or for Mylan to do a 45-minute video so I understand the seasonal lore. I think that's one of the changes that really started happening with we talk about changes that happened with Arrivals. And that's one of the big things I think they did was move a lot of the exposition out of the lore pages. And obviously Hunt was pretty much set in stone by that point, but Chosen is when everything changed. And if we can keep this going, like, I want to pick up the Witch Queen and I want to have my Witch Queen story, and I want the seasonal story to be totally separate from that. Mm-hmm. Because it should be a separate dual narrative that kicks off a storyline that I'm playing for the whole year, which is their goal here. Mm-hmm. I like that I can now take weeks off because, I've done all the story stuff. I don't have to have FOMO. If it's a season I want to take kind of easy, cool. Now just let me do my season passes whenever I want in case there's a season I really need to dip out of. Mm-hmm. Or let me come back and finish my challenges if I paid for the season pass. I'll come back at any time to finish my challenges. Mm-hmm. Like take the Master Chief Collection and the Halo Infinite approach here. I can go a long way. I want to look at, there's one more thing in the Games Radar article that I want to read. And it's